All right. Call to order, Communications Advisory Commission, starting today, November 2nd, 6 p.m. Approval of the agenda. Are we not doing a roll call anymore?
Well, we're not, since
Okay.
I can look and see everybody. I'm happy to say everybody's last names, but I sort of feel really silly every time I did that.
Okay, no problem. All right, so approval. So next item on the agenda, approval of the agenda.
I move to approve.
Any second? Thank you. All in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Sounds like it's been approved. All right, so next on the agenda, approval of minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes from last meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Minutes approved. Public comment. Any public comment?
We did not receive any public comments.
Okay. The next staff report.
So I put the last couple months in there. Just a couple of quick things to go over. Obviously, the pandemic is still shaping a lot of what we do, both in terms of our messaging and in our procedures. We've been doing this for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 3 years. It feels like, and we're pretty good at it. Derek has a pretty good system we've been working with the library and others to produce programming that can be done virtually, and they're doing a lot of the shooting on their end, and then we're bringing it in-house to edit, as well as looking for other ways to, particularly heading into this, what we expect to be a long winter, ways to help engage the community with the help of both the rec department and the library and others. Halloween obviously was this last weekend. We worked on some messaging early in the very end of September, early October, to really help people understand what they could do to do it more safely, as well as to encourage them to think about alternatives that limited them to their pods, folks that they'd already been essentially been sort of limiting their activities with, as well as encouraging folks to find alternative ways to alternative candy delivery methods, as well as just to talk about some of the other Halloween activities we did. This year we did, with Jillian's help, do drive-in movies for the first time. This is something that we've talked about before. Geico helped us do that financially. The Colony Pumpkin Patch gave us a great opportunity to show those movies. I think they were both successful. We had good turnout. We'll learn a few things about how many more folks we can fit in, and just a few other sort of minor tweaks. But the feedback that we heard has been very positive about with those. Let's see. Obviously, we've been doing a lot of work with the Great Neighborhoods initiative, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit, as well as the I Remember When, which we talked about at the last meeting, and we'll touch on again in the next agenda item. Let's see, the only other thing that I think maybe to call out is the Fall into Cleanup Day piece. Obviously, early in the pandemic, at the end of every April, we usually host a spring cleanup day, and this year we didn't host it in the spring with the hope that we'd be in a place to host it in the fall. So we worked with administration and the streets department to find an alternative for this fall. So we're offering, we're not going to do the traditional drive-through, drop your stuff off, but folks can sign up online for a voucher to the Iowa City landfill that'll cover up to 300 pounds of general waste, or 2 trash stickers, so that they can do some curbside and maybe get some of that excess garbage off their hands before winter. So they can go online to register for that. Those stickers and vouchers will start going out in November. We're trying to balance the right amount of ease for staff to do this different thing, as well as make it convenient for our residents. So that so far we have about 110 folks that have taken us up on that offer, and they can do that through most of November. I would happily answer any questions that folks have about either of those reports or anything else.
What was the trap you laid for the mayor, just out of curiosity?
So our mayor was recently inducted into the Iowa League of Cities Hall of Fame. He's been involved in public service for a long time. He actually, when he was the mayor of Creston, hired Kelly Hayworth to be that city's city administrator, and Kelly Hayworth has been now in Coralville for 3 million years. So he's been involved for a long time. We essentially told him that we were getting a special tour of the new arena down in Coralville. Think Iowa City and the city of Coralville were great help getting us down there. And then so he walked in unsuspecting. We had a little tour, and then he got the spiel. It went very well. I personally was excited on a professional level to get to put North Liberty logos in the lights all the way around the arena, and that North Liberty is now the first city to induct someone into the Hall of Fame in Coralville's brand new arena. But it went well. He was surprised and pleased. And his family was able to sort of come out and visit, and it was fun and successful.
How is the cultural competency training going?
Yeah, so the city itself, we just completed. So the United Way of Central Iowa did the 21-day equity challenge, which all of the department heads as well as a number of staff went through. We're also pushing additional opportunities for folks through the city. I think that folks are seeing an interest and a willingness to and an understanding, and I think this is an important step. Obviously, not the only step, but an early step.
Can you give us a quick overview of what's offered, or what's said, or what's about, or focus?
Yeah, so most recently we just wrapped up the 21-day equity challenge, which really started at a really basic level, just sort of talking about systemic racism and some of the issues that we know perpetuate inequity, right? When we talk about redlining, when we talk about educational discrepancies, when we talk about healthcare discrepancies, and also walked through. It was focused around Des Moines. Primarily, which obviously was a town that had redlining explicitly and some of that kind of mapping, but also just had some exercises too to think through how this worked in your own life, as well as I haven't had a chance to do today's yet, but it was sort of what are those next steps to building an equitable workplace.
How much participation did you have? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there.
That's okay. Did you guys have any communication or discussion among North Liberty staff about the equity challenge?
We didn't. I did not.
Okay.
We did not. We talked a little bit about that in our staff. But again, most of that staff training is coming out of City Hall. So this isn't our bread and butter, but we did talk about it, and it has come up a couple of times.
Okay.
Question, I guess, related to the COVID-19 and everything. Are you seeing when we have citywide things like Halloween and trick-or-treating coming up, are you having your communications lines kind of jammed, or are you getting overwhelmed with questions that people, or are you feeling like the communication you're putting out there is pretty well answering people's questions?
I think when people see it, they understand it. I think we're seeing some of the same things that we're seeing nationally, which is some distrust in government. But I think that generally speaking, people are understanding. For Halloween, for example, we worked with the county as well as Iowa City and Coralville to have aligned messaging, which I think helps a great deal when it comes down to messaging that at a local level, because that means people aren't just seeing it from us, but they're also seeing it through these other channels like the county and honestly the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics is doing work too.
I definitely want to applaud North Liberty residents, because I drove around on Halloween and they all were doing stuff that really encompass social distancing. I seen a lot of tables out. So definitely commend North Liberty residents for just, playing it safe.
Yeah.
Anything else on the staff report? Tom, did you have anything else? Okay, I'll move on. I remember when. Next time on the agenda.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this last time, and so we've recorded and released 3 episodes. We did the one pilot that we talked about last time. We recorded another pilot before we released it to the public, and then we had one additional story come in that we recorded. They have not been coming in particularly quickly. And so we made the decision, instead of holding back to collect a whole bunch, we wanted to get those out there. I think this is a little bit of a trust building exercise, and we're gonna need to continue to talk to people and reassure them that what our motivation is. We have gotten some nice press coverage. KCRG came down and did a story about it. But again, I think we're gonna see the strongest response, and I think we'll continue to solicit one-to-one additional stories, and obviously even some of those personal asks end up not panning out, which is understandable. It's a big ask, and it's asking people to be vulnerable and be out there, which is a hard ask. I think in the spring we'll sort of talk about what our next season will be. We haven't really gotten around to talking about that yet. But we'll sort of explore those ideas in the next year.
So for the time being, we're sticking with the current, I guess, message overall, social justice.
Yeah.
And then in spring, we'd be looking at something new. Is it always going to be open to that topic as well, or is it always going to be some sort of a flow of?
That's a really good question, Ryan, and we haven't really thought, we haven't quite figured that out yet. I would like to, but I worry. I would like us to be able to have a little bit of a focus as well. So I haven't given it a whole ton of thought, and I'd be open to suggestions or ideas that folks have. We'd like to do something different. And again, we saw this as an opportunity to talk about a whole bunch of different topics within it, right? Even stuff that might not feel quite as weighty, right? To talk about the history of North Liberty, right? Like we could do a series that's, with the Rancho House being renovated, that's about, do you have an oral a story to tell about the Rancho House? So I'm not quite sure I have a good answer for you right now. But we'll continue to explore sort of the best way forward that doesn't close off. If there's still people that are interested in telling stories, we can go back to those and shoot them.
Any other comments, questions, feedback?
I've watched all 3 of the videos. I think they're really good. I've enjoyed them. Well, I hope you can find more and do more.
Me too. If you haven't had a chance to see them, you can go to northlibertyiowa.org/I-remember-win. That's all one word, and the three are there right now. Or you can submit a story that you'd like to tell.
All right. Next item on the agenda: the Great Neighborhood and Neighborhood Ambassadors.
Okay, I realize that I failed to send you. Oh no, I didn't. Page 4 is sort of the timeline that we're proposing for this next stage of the Neighborhood Ambassador Program. I'm going to let Jillian's been doing the heavy lifting on this, so I'll let her talk sort of about where we're at and what our next steps are, if that's all right.
Yeah. So I think we were. Did we actually open applications, or did we open since the last meeting?
I think we opened them right after the last meeting.
We met early September. So yeah, so September, I think it was 22nd, about 6 weeks ago, we opened up applications for the Neighborhood Ambassadors. And I've been really thrilled with the response. So a couple overview numbers. I know I've provided some updates to you guys via email along the way, but applications closed this past Friday. And I'm happy to report that we received 52 applications. 2 of them were out of city limits. So out of the 50 that would qualify in city limits, 2 of those are one for each of Keystone at Forever Green and the North Liberty Living Center. So that's 2 of the 50 to have residents in those seniors facilities. So that's 48 applications of neighborhoods, residents that qualify to represent. So 15 of our 29 neighborhoods had more than 1 application in them. We do have 4 or 5 neighborhoods that we do not have applications from yet. And that is something that we will continue to focus on and encourage ambassadors that we're bringing on to help us fill those in the next coming months. I will say that the neighborhoods we're still struggling with, I did put a post out last week kind of highlighting what those neighborhoods were in a different color on the map. Those are, there's a mix of neighborhoods we maybe expected to have a little harder connecting with based on just the feel that we've had in our current communication plan. But there's also some neighborhoods in there that we're surprised by. So we will continue to ask for your feedback and word of mouth to spread the word about those opportunities, and we will challenge ambassadors to help fill the rest of that. But I would say going at this for the first time and filling whatever percentage that is, but 22 of the 29 neighborhoods this first round, I'm very pleased. We will talk through the timeline here real briefly, and we will have you guys have a chance to look through all of those. But I think you'll find what I have found, and I know Nick's looked through a couple of them as well. I'm just super impressed by the people that are stepping up. I know I personally, out of the 50 names, only probably know 2 of the names that I even know in the community. So that's golden. I mean, we want to spread our communication network. These are people that maybe you'll recognize some names, maybe other city staff may recognize some names, but coming out of at least the communications office, built-in connections, we're very much expanding our network in that way. We've got people that are 20, we've got people that are 80. It's a really, really broad range. We've got renters, we've got owners, we've got, honestly, from a racial diversity standpoint, we have a more diverse applicant pool than North Liberty is. And based on census data, of course, we'll see what that is when we get the newer census results. But I'm just really pleased at the folks we're reaching and just reading their responses. And I do encourage you, it's a lot to read through, and I do send it your way tomorrow, but I think it's really inspiring to just hear what people love about North Liberty, why they're interested in serving their area, kind of their desire for connection and connecting others, and what the benefit they could see out of this program. So really pleased. There are people, the main ways they heard about it that they mentioned their applications were Facebook, email, basically just kind of RSS feeds from the city on when we would post things about that. Word of mouth, someone will say, oh, this counselor told me about it. Or I did have someone mention that they saw you, Keisha, on the video on Facebook, and they knew who you were, so they wanted to learn more about it. There's even been some ambassadors that have applied that have told other people throughout town. So word of mouth. We did do Dick Hakes did a story in the Press Citizen. If you got a chance to read that, that drew in some applicants right then too. And Nextdoor, which is that social hub for neighbors online, we're going to use strongly in this program, was a huge way that people heard about it too. So that's a good sign. I actually have a meeting at the end of this week with some of the Nextdoor representatives, corporate wide Nextdoor, to kind of see how we could best utilize their system for our new program. But the timeline that I just want to overview is tomorrow. I plan on sending you all an email. I'll include an attachment that is all of the applications. They're all separated by neighborhood, so there's a divider page in between each one. And then I will also send you a spreadsheet. I guess I could send you a spreadsheet version too, but another PDF that's just your section of the larger, so you don't have to weed through them. But if you are all on board, and this is a question I'm posing to all of you, if anyone is going to opt out of this, but with the 48 applications, I was going to send each of you 8, 9, or 10 names, and ask that you follow up with them in the next, what did we have on there? In the next week and a half. I will send some guidelines in the email as well. But basically, the overview would be, I'd be looking for you to read through the applications and just try to make contact. I'd love to make sure that everyone that has applied over the past 6 weeks is reachable, is still interested. And some have really elaborated a lot in their applications as to what they're looking forward to with this opportunity, and some were a little more brief, and that's fine. Just kind of touching base with a commission member with each applicant and getting a sense for this, and then kind of just bringing your thoughts back to me as we make the final selections. That would be great. I'll outline this when I send it to you as well, but some of you will have, there's maybe one applicant in the areas you're looking at. And so we just want to make sure that person's a good fit. And then some, you might have 5 applicants for one neighborhood. And, you know, we need to decide after chatting to everyone, if that's a neighborhood that we think that number is necessary, or if we need to, you know, do something else. So, if you would all, I guess you can email me too, or tell me now, but I will plan on breaking that pretty equally between the 5 of you now. And if you have any issues with touching base with everyone by mid next week, just let me know. I could certainly follow up with some people too. But I would plan to send an email to all the applicants tomorrow as well. And I would let them know, because they're most familiar with emailing with me at this point, that they would be expecting a call from someone on the commission over the next week, if you're all agreeable. So I just turn it over to any questions or concerns you guys have, or anything you want to ask me about the process up until this point.
Is there any reason why you wouldn't want to have 4 or 5 people in one area? I would think that would be a good thing to have. More people reaching out in any neighborhood, I would think, would be desirable.
Yeah, you know, this is the first go at this, so I think that if all of them are very interested and seem like great fits for us, I don't want to turn that down. The reason why we initially planned on, if there's, you know, 100 households here, we'll have 1 ambassador. If there's 250 households here, we'll have 2 or 3. You know, it came really from a how many ambassadors can we manage and provide the program and design it the way we want. But those are, I mean, just looking through the applications when they're halfway done coming in, I was like, I like everyone. So we'll definitely have to have those conversations. I'm not opposed to bringing everyone that's a good fit on board. I just want to make sure that, you know, even with just having 1, 2, or 3 based on size of neighborhoods, that was already going to put us at, and then the senior center is already going to put us around 40 ambassadors. So knowing we still have some neighborhoods we haven't even brought on yet, 50 and then some more might be a lot. I think we'll have to learn that.
And I think too, Tom, you know, we wanted to keep this at a size that made sense for when we are able to eventually meet in person. You know, that at a certain point, it becomes a group that's too large for that. We know that we're going to try to do some meetings via Zoom, and large groups via Zoom are even more unruly than in person. So that would be one of our concerns with just having too large of a group overall as well.
Well, or else you could always have multiple meetings. Of course, that puts an extra burden on you, but multiple smaller meetings would kind of address that.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things we've talked about with these folks is that larger network. So we want to make sure that those folks can connect with that larger network. And we also want to make sure that we can deliver the program and support the ambassadors equitably.
One other question, if I may. Are we, the five of us, are we fairly distributed around the community, or do we clump in any particular area? Or do you, not, excuse me, not that
Where
that's
your
important.
addresses are? I don't know. Let's see. So, at first glance of your addresses, it feels like the five of you are pretty well spread out. I did do and certainly you guys are like kind of ambassadors as well as being on the commission. And I would say out of the applications, another thing, besides just maybe personally not knowing a lot, any of the names really that came through, there's probably only one or two that have come through that even serve on any commission in the community. So, I mean, we're really expanding the network here, which is terrific. And actually just grabbing, of course, you'd expect this by recruiting people through different neighborhoods, but even missing a few little spots right now in the community. I did a little pin map that I'll include in what I send you tomorrow. And it just shows like a really good net that I think will be helpful to all departments to engage with certain areas by seeing that visually. And if you have if you're assigned a neighborhood that has more than one applicant for that area, I'll include that little map for you so you can see, oh, there's 5 people that have applied in this neighborhood. They're located kind of in this way to see like how well are we even covering that neighborhood? Or are we just covering one street?
Is there a time frame, like a number of months or years that we're going to ask these folks to serve?
That's a good question. When I have been asked that by applicants, I have said that I would like everyone to have the full intention of being able to commit a year to it, knowing that someone could move, someone could transfer, someone could just find they don't like it or have the time. But with the intention of doing it for at least a year, we would not have necessarily a turnover date if the relationship is working well for us and the ambassadors. They could continue. We do see that, as a vacancy pops up for whatever reason, we would post that vacancy to the community and fill that on a rolling basis. We're also hopeful that if someone were to move out of the area or just feel that they don't have the time to give in that way, they'd be able to tap a neighbor they've built relationships with on the shoulder and kind of help do that. And certainly if anyone reaches out as this becomes more apparent, people that missed the opportunity to apply or just recently moved into the area, if they reach out, I'll make sure that's still available on the website to reach out with interest so that, we could always capture them. But yes, there's not like a certain date or a serving amount of years. Might change.
What if the question comes up that maybe a neighborhood ambassador wants to like be a co-ambassador for the neighborhood? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, so there are definitely applicants that I have spoken with. And I would say that probably half of them I've had some sort of conversation with to get to the point of them applying. And there's some that are more interested in the information sharing side of ambassador. And then there are some that are really interested in, when COVID allows, gathering people or creating more community activities. If that's the case, which will become more apparent reading the applications for you or when talking to them on the phone, that is something that we'll want to note, and I want you to be able to discuss with me if you're getting that sense, because we want to make sure that there is both in the neighborhood if we can. I would say half the neighborhoods are going to have more than one anyway. But we do want to make sure they're a good balance with each other. There has also been a husband and wife that applied. He wants to do more of the information sharing. She wants to do more of the coordinating of things. That's totally fine too. We're really open. We just want people that are passionate about growing this with us. And it's going to look a little different in each neighborhood with what that makeup is. But just kind of as you review that, maybe just make some notes that it's helpful for me to get your feedback on that so that I don't miss it, kind of looking at the overall picture that this one neighborhood maybe does have 4 And we don't know if that's a little too much for that area, but if they're all bringing different things to it, that's totally fine. If we have 4 applicants in Fox Run, but all of them are only interested in information sharing and no one's interested in coordinating the activities, we need to look at that too. So it is really case by case, and I'm hoping by sending you each kind of a small segment to look at, along with the full thing, if you want to kind of get a feel for everyone, I'm hoping that when we have those one-on-one conversations and follow up, we can kind of nail that down together.
So is the official launch date November 24th?
So announcing the ambassadors at a council meeting. So what we foresee is hopefully, you know, by the week of the 16th here, we'll have all touched base, have our list, we'll notify the ambassadors, and we're going to invite them to a kickoff virtual meeting about a month out from when they're notified. It'll be in mid-December. So we're giving them some notice. We know that they're not going to all be able to make it, but it's just a way to gather as many as we can to kick off. We want to invite all of you to tune in and join that meeting as well. I'll be sure to include you. We'll include our elected officials and department head staff as well, to kind of just start to get to know some faces, get everyone excited. It's a little bit of an icebreaker meeting. And then just kind of doing some housekeeping to get them ready to launch. We'll be arranging headshots with the ambassadors, asking them to fill out a little bio to put on the website so we can introduce them to the community and let people know who to look for and who to reach out to. From there, we will plan on officially starting the duties in January. So we're looking at kind of bringing them on board, answering their questions, trying to work out any kinks that we're kind of figuring out as we put together some materials for them. And then really starting to disseminate the information in different ways than we have before in 2021. And then hopefully that more in-person stuff later in 21.
Hey, Jillian.
Mm-hmm.
You know if, and maybe I missed this totally, the last mailing you had, is Broadmoor Estates, are they on the list?
They are.
They are. Oh, good.
Yeah, they are. We have 2 applicants from Broadmoor Estates right now. Mm-hmm.
That's where I live.
Oh, great. Well, maybe I'll, I don't know if I have you on those or not, but does that timeline kind of make sense to everyone? We want to keep everyone's excitement alive. I mean, I had reading some really passionate people apply at the end of September. You know, here we are at the beginning of November. We want to keep making sure that they feel engaged. And so kind of starting that this next few months and introducing them to the community, and then really starting more of our communication plan from there.
I think I love like the setup and everything, but I'm thinking about like the long run, how we keep them engaged and wanting to, you know, stay active. So I guess my mind is like, can we figure out like a plan to just keep them like steadily engaged and committed to this? So.
Well, the plan right now would be to, well, this virtual kickoff meeting in December, just to kind of give them some general announcements of what we'll be collecting from them up until the launch in January. We will have quarterly virtual or in-person meetings in the future that will provide like a little networking component, social hour kind of component for the ambassadors, just to get to know each other, along with the more quarterly announcements, some department face-to-face time. Then there will also be a monthly email from me to them to kind of, you know, pull together a lot of maybe things they should have caught through things we've sent through other communication, or things to kind of expect in the future. We also plan on providing and inviting them to trainings that the city takes place in, as well as some tours of city facilities and other type of more ambassador specific trainings. Some of those will be required, some of them will be voluntary. So I think between the quarterly in-person meetings, the monthly emails, and then the other opportunities, I'm hopeful that we can keep them engaged, and hopefully some friendships will bloom professionally and personally out of this network, and that they might even start doing little, you know, gatherings as we're public health wise, able to keep them engaged. And part of this will really be, and our city administrator is very on board with this, of this becoming a mindset for the entire city staff. And so it will take some getting used to, but this first year is going to be a lot of work on the communications and to do those reminders, to do the pushes, to encourage the departments to reach out to the ambassadors and not only just be responsive, but be proactive in engaging them. And once that becomes more habit, I'm hopeful that will take off.
And I think the other piece of this too is that we want, we've talked a lot about equity through this, and being able to engage these different folks in the ways that make sense for them and their neighbors. And so I think until those folks are on board and they can tell us what they need from us, and how they want to engage us, I think is going to be something we need to leave room for. One of the things that Julie and I keep sort of talked about at the beginning of this and as we've gone through is that we all know those folks who are comfortable reaching out, whether it's via email or social media, direct, text me or text her with questions about the city. And we want to find a way to make more people feel comfortable reaching out and not see it as a big hurdle. And so I think that sort of lower level engagement is going to be an important piece of this too. And that's a hard thing for us to write into a plan and formalize. But I think that's going to be part of it too.
Another question in the applicants that we'll be reviewing, should we have like a rating system, like a first pick, second pick, in case, maybe the first pick, no longer wants to be in that role, then you go down, to the second pick that we chose. Should that be an option? Should we think about that?
What I'm going to send are more just guidelines of making sure that we're kind of getting an overall feel and picture for what each applicant's motivation, interest, connection in the community is. Not so much asking any kind of rating scale or judging scale of the applications. The main goal, first and foremost, I think most applications paint a pretty good picture of everyone. Like I said, some are more brief than others, but what I want to make sure is that everyone gets a call to know, so we can find out, are they still interested and can we reach them? I mean, if we can't reach them, that's going to be hard to be an ambassador. So that's two main checkpoints I'm looking for with your help is, can I reach them? Are they still interested? Have they had any more thoughts, ideas since they've applied? And just kind of providing them an update on the timeline, which I will outline this in the email to you too, of kind of the points I would like you to hit, and some of the questions I'm anticipating them to have right now based on things I've heard from people already. And then, just I've just really enjoyed the conversations with people, whether you talk to them for 5 minutes or 20 minutes, talk to them about the potential of this and what they're looking forward to. And then I'll just touch base with each of you, and we can not rate them or score them, but really just see if we can accommodate everyone or if some are just we're not able to communicate with at this point.
Going back to the timeline, since this is election week, is it a possibility to push it back a week? If possible, if people are not answering their phones or not getting back, because they're still getting those robocalls, just the consideration of that. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly that was a thought we had too. I'm hesitant to not maybe start it late this week. I certainly don't expect people to be picking up the phone tomorrow or Wednesday, and especially asking you all to put the time into that right now. I want to get it in your inbox, but I will send a reminder to you all at the end of the week too. And right now I'd like to make an attempt to try to communicate with everyone by the 13th, the next Friday. But if we have a few that we haven't, we'll continue to follow up, but I want to make sure we get it done before the week before Thanksgiving, and then people start to not be as responsive. So I think that the 9th through the 13th, the next Monday through Friday, is going to be the best time to reach and connect with people. But if any of it can get done, or at least the voicemail to them get by the end of this week, we have a better chance to get that follow up and be able to kind of talk one-on-one by the end of next week. but keep me updated if you're having issues. I can also, if it's just the work schedules between you and them aren't connecting, I can make calls too, and so can Nick.
And thank you, Jillian, for doing all this. I'm so excited about it. So I keep on saying that to everybody. So
Well, thank you. I'm excited too. I think I'm just so excited after reading all the applications, and I'm excited for you guys to get that in your inbox too. Don't be shocked at the size of the PDF and how many pages there are. That's why I'm going to send you 2 documents. One's going to be the full thing that you can read at your leisure if you want. The other one will be your section. So, yeah.
all right. Any other comments, questions, feedback for Jillian? All right, then we're going to move on to the next agenda item. Thank you again, Jillian. Old business. Any old business anyone want to discuss? Got nothing. All right, new business. New business. All right, then adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Anyone want a second?
I can second.
Thank you. All in favor of closing out this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Too.